Hi, everyone, and welcome. Really cool to have you all here today. So, yeah, it's mid-August, so hopefully you're not in the middle of a heat wave, or at least have like some air conditioning around you. And yeah, today we're going to show you how to give your AI access to your user test. And yeah, but before we start, just a super quick overview about Livestream, the tool we are hosting the webinar in right now. So maybe you already see the chat tab. It's down there on the right side, and yeah, use the chat tab to say hi, share your thoughts during the session. Yeah, and right next to it, you have the questions tab. And it would be super cool when you have any questions that are coming up during the webinar, just put them in the questions tab. And in the end, we will have like a Q&A session, and we'll answer all of your questions. So just, yeah, put them in the questions tab. And yeah, while we're still waiting for everyone to join, I see a few of you already used the chat. And Alison already said she's from Canada. I just wanted to ask you where you guys are located today, because this is also always like, yeah, super interesting. Okay, so I see we have Canada. Olaf, I guess if you say Guten Tag, you're from Germany, South America. Yeah, so it's around the world a little bit. That's cool. That's really cool to see. And yeah, so when we announced the webinar, you probably only saw two people, and that was me, and that was Stefan. So I'm Paula Süßmeier, product marketing specialist here at Userbrain, and Stefan Rössler is our product maestro at Userbrain. But we also have like a special guest today, and this is Andreas Riedmüller, and he's our magician, as I call him, because Andy can do magical things and thingies. Because yeah, most of the time I don't understand everything that he's doing, like how probably other people would describe his job title a little bit more professionally. He's a developer. And yeah, so he's here today because we also want to understand a little bit more of the technical side behind AI, behind MCPs. And yeah, saying that, because we're obviously going to talk quite a bit about MCP today, before Andy's gonna explain what that actually is. We're like curious, are you already working with MCPs? So I prepared a poll. I will publish it now. Give me 1 second. Okay, you should see it now on the pause tab next to the question tab. And it would be super cool if you could just answer this one quickly. That's helpful. So yeah, whether you're already using an MCP or you have no idea what we're actually talking about, what is an MCP, that's totally fine. So I said we're gonna explain that in just a minute. But there's like, yeah, we have to start with why do we even need this? Why do we even need an MCP? And the thing is, like, AI helps you and the team, and yeah, almost everyone today, to make product decisions super fast. But AI still can't see where real users actually struggle with, what's their experience. And yeah, if you don't have this evidence, you can risk making decisions super quickly, but they might be, or are, depends, still based on just assumptions and not on real user experience. And yeah, Stefan, maybe you have some thoughts to that as well.
Yeah, firstly, hi to everyone. Glad you could join us today, and thanks, Paula, for the lovely introduction, as always. And as Paula has already mentioned, the big issue that we see today, and I personally also experience as a person working on the product, is the increased speed that we get through AI. And at the same time, it's so frustrating, and we all know how frustrating it really is when you work with an AI and the AI sounds overly confident, but it doesn't even know anything about your user test results. It has never seen anyone use your product. And that is the big problem, and that is what we're trying to kind of solve through this MCP. And just give you a little bit of background. In our case, I would usually come out of an executive meeting, for example, and we've decided what to work on next. And I would start building some prototypes after doing some research and then running them through some quick tests, keep iterating, keep working on it. And as the days, weeks, and months go by, usually what happens is that I'm the only person who has even watched the user tests. And I'm saying this despite us having a real easy way of sharing your user test data with your colleagues. I'm usually not even doing it anymore because things are so fast paced. And I don't even want to, you interrupt people with, hey, watch these clips, do this, do that. So what often happens is I end up being the only person who knows about all of this. And it stays kind of in my head, a bit lost in there. And after a few months, I don't even know anything about the tests anymore. And AI lacks the same information as all the team members do. So AI doesn't have access to this either. And that is the big issue we're seeing. And that is why we're actually having this MCP. Because as you will see a little bit later when Andy explains to you how it all works, and we will show you some examples later, this way you can actually give your AI access to user data and finally let it make informed decisions. And we'll show you how exactly it works, how you can converse with your AI, how to get the data out of Userbrain and what to exactly do with it. But yeah, that was a little bit from my point of view for now.
Yeah, exactly, Stefan. You're absolutely right. And like, I think especially like, as you mentioned, you run the user test, but like there are people, they don't even run the user test yourself. So if you don't share it, we maybe never have a look at them. And like, for example, like for me in marketing, user tests and user feedback is super useful and valuable, but I probably won't have the time because no one has time anymore, like to go in the account, to check is there's a user test that's interesting for me and stuff like that, go through recordings, look at insights, think about what I want to get out of the user test and stuff like that. It's not because I don't care about the user research. It's super, super interesting. It's just like so time consuming. So yeah, the research actually is there. You have all of the research in your hopefully Userbrain account. It's all in there. It's just not easily accessible for everyone, like on the go, like right away. And that is a thing that we want to change, and we did change that. And yeah, this is the Userbrain MCP. So I think, Andy, it would be great if you can show us how we changed that.
Yes, I'm glad to. Hello, I am Andreas. I am sitting here in the Userbrain headquarters in Graz alone and without an air conditioning, because my air conditioner, it has some problem. It says PF, I don't know what it means, but it means it's getting hotter every minute here, but it's still possible to live. So what I will do is I will have a few slides, like two or three, and I will explain how the Userbrain MCP does all of this magic thing between for connecting the AI to the user test results from Userbrain. And I will not go into too much technical details because that's what we yesterday found out is maybe not necessary and takes too much time. But I will try to talk a little bit about what MCP is, just really a little bit, and then explain you how the Userbrain MCP does what it does, and then I will show you how to connect the Userbrain MCP. It's pretty simple, and then I will hand over to Paula, who will then hand over to Stefan to show you some examples of using the Userbrain MCP. So I will now share my screen. So hopefully you see my screen now. Yes, this should work. So this is the Userbrain MCP. I just took the graphic from our marketing material, like the first thing. And the first thing I want to say, it's not magic. So it's really a technical thing. Still, I'm the magician, right? But this is my main slide, let's call it like this. And it should show you that the Userbrain MCP here on the right side is a tool that is connected to your AI tools. That this can be an agent, this can be a chat tool, like an AI chat, or any other tool that works with an LLM and has support for the MCP protocol. The MCP protocol was founded by Anthropic some time ago, and it's relatively new still, but I mean, it depends what you call new in these days where everything changes like from week to week. But it was recently in December 2025, it was donated from Anthropic. So the standard was donated to a foundation, the Agentic AI Foundation, so that it's an open standard. And a lot of companies that are in this foundation and also other companies influence how the MCP protocol is shaped. So what it should be is, it should be a standard of how your AI tool can get more information into their context. So the context is all the data that the AI can see while giving you answers or generating responses. And most of the context, or almost all of it, is just text. So also what the Userbrain MCP is it's through some different things, it generates text that will then end up in your session. And that's the reason why your AI knows about your user test data and other things. When you first connect the MCP server to your tool, the thing that the MCP client or your tool knows about the tool is a description of a tool and a list of tools it offers. And then when you make a request or write something in the chat prompt and send it, it then will try to find out if there is some tool that might help to answer the question or to do the task you told it to do. And while doing so, it will do this by reading or by knowing about all these descriptions. So basically the text that is here, that is basically the text that's in the description of the tool. So that's why the AI knows in the context that this tool is important if there is some question about videos, tasks, AI insights, or else. The Userbrain MCP currently only has some read-only tools. So you cannot order tests or you can do nothing destructive. That's also something that makes it quite simple for the AI, because it doesn't have to ask you a lot of questions if it's safe to do that and so on. And the 5 tools that it offers, and there are a few other things besides these tools, like text that also gets injected into the context. These 5 tools are for listing tests and getting data from your test videos. And to give you an example, I will go into the details of one of these endpoints, just to give you an idea on the technical side how this thing works. Stefan said that it helped him a lot to understand how MCP works, so that's why I go into this. I will then not go into detail for every of these tools. And here on the graphic, you also see there is the Userbrain data here, which is basically our servers where your data is stored. And when your AI is connected to the Userbrain MCP server, it can then communicate with the Userbrain MCP server through so-called tool calls. And the Userbrain MCP has access to the Userbrain data and can then decide what the AI will receive. So the AI doesn't have like a direct connection to all of the Userbrain data, but there is like this gate in between the AI and your Userbrain data. And this is the MCP server that offers the AI tools to get the data and can communicate with our servers to get this data then and deliver it to the context of your tool. So this is the one endpoint that I go into detail, just to give you an example. This is what the AI sees about these tools, So if the AI decides that it should make a tool call to get some information about a few videos, the AI will have this description of the tool. So the AI will kind of understand. An AI doesn't really understand, but it will have the knowledge or in there, the context in there to know what the tool is about and what its capabilities are. And I won't read through all of this, but basically it just says what's possible with this tool. And then it can call the get videos tool. So it can generate some text that calls this tool. And when calling the tool, it can make a few decisions on what exactly it will have from this tool. In this case, in programming, that's called arguments for a function or parameters. This is the test ID, so it must know the identifier of the test, so that it knows which test you're referring to. Then it also has 2 flags, and these flags are to include notes and clips and to include the transcript of the video. This is not done per default because your AI has a context and the token usage and stuff like this. And if we all the time would just gather all the data, it would be bad for the usage of your tokens and all this stuff, because and also of your context window, because it would just have too much heavy data in there. But if there is something where the AI needs to know about the transcript, for example, it needs to know what the tester exactly said in the video, there is this description that explains to the AI that it can set this to true if it really needs to have the transcript. So here is the word set true only when the verbatim transcript is actually needed. So that's enough for the AI to call the tool with the right parameters. And that's maybe something that gives you a kind of an understanding why this MCP thing works and how the AI knows which tool to call. It's really just this text here, and then the AI can, through JSON, generating JSON things, and then the integration with the client, it can then really call these functions. And this is one example of calling a tool like this. I have made a screenshot in my ChatGPT while calling this tool. And basically, I think you don't see this when you do the tool call yourself, because as far as I understood it, I see this JSON data here because I am the developer of the tool, but could be that it's not like this, but it's cool because it illustrates really what it does. I asked the question, okay, did one tester say the word excellent? I was already talking about a specific video, so the AI knew the ID of the video. And it then knew, okay, I have to get like the videos of this one test, and the user wants to know about the word excellent, and the AI knows to set this flag to true, and it then gets the response with all this information and all the transcripts in there. And it has then everything in context, so it can answer the question, and it says, which is true, none of the testers said the word excellent, and there was plenty of strong positive language, and that's the strength of an LLM. It can then make like try to guess your intent and then talk a little bit about that. That depends on the tool. So this is basically how a tool call then looks like. And a very cool thing about the Userbrain MCP and using Userbrain for getting insights about your user data is that we have one specific thing. And this specific thing is called the AI Insights. And I will now open the Userbrain dashboard so to show you how what I mean. So when you make a test in Userbrain, then you have the test and you order some videos. Then we on our servers already have AI tools that try to do everything possible to get out important things about your tests. We analyze the images, we analyze the transcript, we analyze timestamps and tasks. So it's like with time, it grew to a quite complex setup of stuff that gets things out quite good. But your AI, to get like positive feedback or usability issues, your AI does not need to do all this calculation and does not need all the tokens for getting to that data, but it can instead just call this Get Insights tool and then already gets the insights that our system already prepared, so to say. So it's quite cheap to use the Userbrain insights with the AI because your AI tools don't have to do all the heavy lifting. But of course, they could, if they wanted, they could fetch all the transcripts and make their own assumptions based on this. So that's one thing that I wanted to note about the Userbrain MCP and what makes it especially cool in this setup, because there's already a lot of the heavy stuff is already done. So one example is, I know that Matthias has an agent loop because he built a website and he has an agent loop, and that automatically, I don't know, gets the latest test videos and then just tries to fix the usability issues, and then he just gets email messages about pull requests, and a very complex thing. I just heard how I did it, and that's quite interesting that something like this is already possible, and it might get more interesting in the future when all these AI tools get even better in fixing problems and understanding. So that's what I wanted to show you here. Now I go back to my slide, and then on my last slide, you see the list of all these endpoints and what they do. We decided to not go into detail for everything of this, but basically it's all tools you need to get access to all the data you have from your user tests. So the transcripts, the videos, the insights, the tasks, and to know which tests are in your account. And the last thing I will now show you is how to connect the Userbrain MCP in your tool. I will do this in an example of ChatGPT, but it's also very easy to do it in Claude and other tools. Most AI tools and agents have some way to install MCP service. For ChatGPT and Claude, it's especially simple because we are in their official plugin directory. So you basically just have to search in the plugins for Userbrain and then click a button. So I will show you this here now in a live example. So you go to settings and then you go to plugins, to browse plugins, which then gives you all the plugins that exist for ChatGPT. Then you just search for Userbrain and then you will find Userbrain. In my example, I have two Userbrain things because it's an internal. We also have a development preview of the MCP, and you click the plus, and then you click sign in with Userbrain. You get then redirected to a special authorization server on our side, which looks exactly like this. And you can then click authorize if you're already logged in. If you're not logged in, you have to log in here again. I think you also have to log in here if you're logged into your Userbrain dashboard. I only see this form already because I am already logged into our authentication service. And then when you click authorize or log in and then authorize, you will then get redirected back to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT now has the token and all the information stored on their servers to communicate with the MCP and be authenticated with the data in your account. And now that I did this, I can create a new test and say, what is the title of the latest test? And it should now be able to retrieve the test list with the Userbrain MCP and call the tool and then get the test. I hope it works. So here it's listing the Userbrain tests. You see now the tool call. It calls this tests list. It gets this JSON response with all the tests inside. It has this in the context now. And the latest Userbrain test was called Bildpunkt, which is like an experiment I have in my account. And yeah, that's how it works. And the same is in Claude. You also go to connectors. It's called connectors there. And then you search for the right connector. I have it here in my account already. If you are in an organization, it can be that your admin first has to add the connector to a list of allowed connectors for your organization. So in some setups of Claude, it's not possible to add any connector you want. First, your admin has to approve that you are allowed to use the connector. Then you click on connect, and then the same procedure. You click authorize, and then you get redirected back. And now Claude has access to all your user testing data. And that was it from my side. I hope you found it interesting and learned a little bit. I didn't went too much into the technical details, but maybe you know now a little bit more about how it works technically, so you have a good concept in your mind of how to interact with the MCP server, or how your agent or AI interacts with the MCP server. Paula, I think I hand it over to you now, right?
Andy, thank you so much. Yeah, it was not too technical, but of course a bit technical, which is also fine because that's super interesting to know what's going on there. So basically, yeah, the Userbrain MCP is connecting your user testing data to your AI tools. And the most important thing is, not the most important, but without burning tokens, because the heavy work is already happening in Userbrain, in the AI insights there. So it's basically the two AIs talking to each other. And yeah, you don't burn your tokens in ChatGPT and Claude whatsoever. And yeah, Andy, thank you so much. Now that we know that you actually can connect it just like in a few clicks, we also want to know what can you actually do with it. And yeah, so first of all, we want to have a look at that like from a product perspective. So Stefan, looking forward to it.
All right, so while I start sharing my screen, I'm telling you what I find most exciting about all of this, and that is that all this technical background actually allows you to now just talk to ChatGPT or to your user test data in plain English or any other language you're speaking. So what Andy just explained, I will touch back to a few points, is important for you to get a feeling for how to use the tool, but it's very, very simple, really. So I'm just going to use one example now. And usually the way I start, so I'm in ChatGPT now, I've already connected. Usually what I firstly do is, are you connected to Userbrain? Because I don't really trust it too much. And you also saw there was no real good confirmation on the ChatGPT plugins page. So it was hard to, for me at least, when I first installed it, I didn't know whether it worked or not. So it tells me, yes, it works. And now I'm trying to find a test, about AI insights, because there is what Andy just showed you, this feature, the AI insights page. A while ago when we developed it, we built a prototype for it and we ran some tests for it. And I want to find this test now. And already you can see what Andy just explained in more technical terms, how it actually happens in more practical terms. It is quite fast because all it does, it looks at the list of tests and it finds the correct one, which happens to be this one here. So that's the one I'd like to talk about. And what I want to show you first is kind of like the most obvious thing you can do, which is what are the most important insights in the test. I just repeat the number here so there can't be any mistake. And I'm just asking it and to see what the answers are. And again, what it will do now is use these tools that Andy was just introducing to you. So it doesn't analyze all the tests itself now. It just looks at the AI insights and all the other things you already have in Userbrain. And based on this, it will give you a relatively fast answer. So this is a lot of text, obviously, to read. We're not going to read this because I just wanted to show you, if you don't go into much more detail, the Userbrain MCP will always try to do the most efficient thing. As Paul and Andy have already mentioned, and I want to stress it one more time because I regularly run out of tokens, or it happened to me before. This is the reason why. So very efficient, so you don't run into the limits of your ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you're using. But of course, if you just ask Userbrain like this, there's one big issue, which is like, well, you can believe it or not. And we're back to home base in a way where there's a very confident sounding AI and you have no idea whether it's right or wrong. So it supposedly has access now, but what I really want to do is, please give me the clips so I can see if these things are really happening, whatever. I'm really not trying very hard here on the things I put in. I'm just, I know every one of you will be familiar how to use an LLM anyway. What I really wanted to show you was just, again, it does this most efficient way of giving you data, but then you can dig deeper and you can ask it, well, actually, I'd like to see the clips that, confirm this. For example, here's someone who finds the feature very exciting and useful. And then what I can do is I just click on watch Chin here. And I hope you can hear the audio now.
The AI Insights, I actually really love the AI Insights feature that
I hope you heard it, and so on and so forth. So he will keep talking. And this is the way you can confirm these sorts of things. So for example, let's watch another one just so you can see how this works. For me, it happens inside ChatGPT. It might open a browser window. It might be different in your LLM, but basically.
The user test involved exploring Userbrain's offering.
Anyway, you get the idea. It's not even so much about the example I'm showing you here. It's about how all of this works. So that's one thing. You can explore your test data and you can dig deeper and deeper and deeper and ask for the specific clips and, for example, for the transcript to actually give you the exact test. Or something we heard from a customer where he said, well, I actually want to do the analysis in my AI tools because my AI tool has so much context that Userbrain doesn't have. And of course, that's possible. You just need to tell the Userbrain MCP that you want the data into that, granular kind of detail. Then, okay, so that's the first thing. And I hope that's clear. The next thing I'd like to show you, if I can, is this prototype test. So this is the test inside Userbrain with 13 testers that we were using here, and this is a screenshot of the prototype that I was testing there. And I just wanted to show you this very quickly because so I'm just putting this in ChatGPT now. I hope it works. Of course, it doesn't. I don't really know why it's not working. Actually, what I'd like to do is, not sure what the problem there is, but what I wanted to do, I'm just going to explain it now, is put in the prototype here and then ask it further, well, now based on this prototype and on all the findings we have, what would you actually suggest that we do with the prototype? Because I think consulting your data and getting a summary and finding information is one thing, but equally important, and maybe actually infinitely more important in the future, is to use the data while you're building. And so what I tried in my demos, and it worked there, and it's not working here, but you can do this yourself in any way you're used to working. It's just, I wanted to give this chat a screenshot, so it has some kind of context what I'm working with. In your case, it might be something else, where you're already working in the chat, whatever. And then you just ask it, well, actually, we're working on this now. Can you go into Userbrain? Can you look at the data? What are users saying about this feature? What are the most important things? And again, Userbrain will try to do it the most efficient way to answer your question. And then you can just dig deeper and say, well, actually, this issue, show me all the clips of all the testers who had this issue. Then Userbrain will compile your list of or not Userbrain, ChatGPT actually, or your LLM will do it, compile your list of all these clips. You can just watch them, confirm everything, and keep working. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you. I stopped sharing now. I hope I got my point across, despite this not really working all that well. But yeah. So that was the first example that we wanted to show you. So you get this general idea of course, you can analyze your data. And of course, you can always access the Userbrain data to actually include it into your work as you're working with AI.
Great, Stefan. Thank you so much. And yeah, and I also want to show you like a point of view for the Userbrain MCP from like a completely different perspective, from marketing perspective. So yeah, let's say the AI insights. This is a Userbrain feature, as we showed you before. So let's say Stefan just did all of the tests. We want to launch the feature, and me, marketing, of course, I have to communicate this somehow and to bring it out to all of you. So let's say I didn't run a user test. I didn't see the session. I didn't talk to Stefan. He didn't brief me on anything about the findings. So it's just me. Maybe we had like a few internal discussions about it, but it's just me now working on how to get it out there. So then me as marketing, I'm going to share my screen and show you what I would do then. Where do we have it here? Okay. So I hope you can see it. So first thing I would do, I would choose here Userbrain. So then I don't have to ask, are you connected? And then let's say I'm working, on the AI Insight promotion. So first thing I would do is just like ask, are there any tests about the AI Insights? Because I don't know if Stefan already ran a test or not. And yeah, so I'm just asking, still thinking and talking to German and me, but the output is English. So yeah. Okay, so yeah, it should tell me now if there are any tests, and yeah, we have 2 direct matches. And okay. Okay, so it's telling me there are 2 tests about AI Insight, and like just me now, I would just decide to use the second one because it's 13 videos. And what I'm interested in marketing is what customers are saying about the AI insights in their own words, because yeah, I want to know how people perceive it, what's important for them. I want to have like my marketing messaging also like close to the customer and to address them in their own words. And with the user test that already happened, I can just like leverage them. So let's ask it. What did customers say about AI insights in their own words? And let's see. Oh, I should have told him to take the AI Insights customer outreach test. So yeah, I forgot about that right now. So okay, he's doing that. Customer outreach recording. Okay, perfect. So he's doing that. Maybe AI could read my thoughts. Okay. Okay, and like right now what we can see, it was also reading like transcripts, because I ask for their own words, because this is like interesting for me. And so like when Stefan did it before, he had to ask like give me the exact timestamp and stuff like that. But like I guess because I ask like their own words, like their exact words, so this is why ChatGPT now with the Userbrain MCP is yeah, taking a bit longer, maybe taking a bit more tokens, as if I would have just asked for the yeah, plain insights. And yeah, you can see it here. I could just like click on the link to see the recording for myself. And yeah, it's also like a lot of text here, and yeah, but it's quoting them, so it saves a lot of time and also giving me concerns, which is like also super good to see what I have to address, like even better, make it clearer and stuff like that. And yeah, and it's giving me like an overall message. And yeah, I could now like go on and ask things. And like, for example, let's try one more thing. What should marketing emphasize or explain more clearly? So let's try that. So and yeah, and I mean, I do love working with AI a lot because it's super fast, but it's always good just to have a look. If you see, for example, they're like 4 people are saying the same thing in like their own words, more or less the same thing, just check the recording. It always has like a different impact if you really see customer talking about your product. It's like, yeah, and also like, of course, to double check, because still it's AI, it's pretty good. But yeah. And okay, so this was just 16 seconds, and it's giving me like, yeah, some emphasize this, explain more clearly. And so I could go on and go on and go on, but I think it's okay for now. And yeah, so I think this is like pretty interesting for marketing. And the important thing for me is like that I can like still see I have like the direct connection to the user test video. It's not based on assumptions. I can go in there all the time and yeah, have a look what people actually said. And yeah, that's from marketing side.
Awesome. And I was just thinking that there's one other aspect of the Userbrain MCP that you might find interesting. That's, for me personally, was a big game changer, because traditionally when you use Userbrain, you have all the data inside the individual tests. And inside a test, you can have the AI insights, you can ask Userbrain, you can find out all these things, always, traditionally, without MCP. But now what the MCP makes possible is actually give you data from different tests and pull them all together into one chat. For example, what I did, I just tried this yesterday because I remember months ago, I had a tester on a landing page we were testing, and he had something really important to say, but I didn't really remember what it was anymore, and I wanted to kind of get a detailed understanding of his insights. And all I remembered was like, I think it was an older man, and he was kind of grumpy in the way he was talking. And he was talking about having a lot of experience with software development. That's everything I remembered. So I typed this in, and Userbrain, or the MCP, actually went through the Userbrain tests. And it suggested like, this might be a person, no, but it's actually not an old man, so it might not be the right one. And it just continued going, and it actually found the right person for me in thousands of Userbrain tests, or tens of thousands that we have in there. And I could just play the clip and get the answer to my question. That was very interesting to see. Another project that we're trying is, over the course of years, we were doing some outreach to customers and potential customers and asked them some research questions, like how are you traditionally doing user testing? What problems are you trying to solve? All of this. And this information is scattered over 55 individual Userbrain tests, because it's just some questions that I asked in different contexts and to different people. And I could just, with Claude, I think I did this, just ask it to go through all these tests and pull the transcripts of everything. And it did this for all the tests and collated it all into one big file for further analysis. And yeah, the only reason I wanted to mention these two examples is that's a very big additional benefit, something that wasn't possible before, where you can actually do cross-test analysis and synthesize all your findings into your chats and into your AI workspaces and continue from there. Yes. So Paula, that was just one thing I still wanted to add.
Perfect, Stefan. Thank you. Yeah, I think you're getting like the bigger picture here. So like what I find like especially great and just awesome, to be honest, is like that the user research suddenly becomes so much more accessible to the whole team. So it's not only useful for the research team, it's not only useful for the person who actually ran the user test, because it's so easy accessible. So like, as I showed you, like, yeah, I can use it in marketing. Sales could use it before a feature release to figure out what are the concerns that customer are already raising, or like what questions might come up, how do they have to prepare for that, where should they emphasize like right from the beginning and stuff like that. And yeah, and for the whole team, and also like because this example just pops up in my mind right now, like for internal discussions, like for example, we talk a lot about like product in Userbrain, like the whole team, we're talking about it, things to change. And like I remember the other day, Stefan wanted to make a change and run a few user tests and made a prototype, and there was like one thing, and I was like, yeah, that's annoying, I don't like that. That's like, no, I liked it better before. And that's my opinion. And of course, my opinion is my opinion and can be my opinion, but in the end, it's just like an opinion. So instead of going to Stefan and be like, oh yeah, but actually, what did the user say about this? Because I think it's this and that, and my assumption is, and then Stefan getting back to me and explaining and like looking it up for himself and figuring out what people actually said about this exact problem. I just went into ChatGPT, Userbrain MCP, asked for my concern, and it turned out, it was like maybe a minute or so, and it turned out like people actually noticed that, but it wasn't a problem at all. So yeah, and like this, I could just like validate like my concerns, my thoughts, my opinions against real user feedback. So the discussion between Stefan and me were not about like, yeah, but what did users actually say? So we were like really focused on bringing like this decision to an end and working on that, instead of discussing and like losing time on but I think and you think. And yeah, so sorry, that was just like something I think is like super, super, super helpful and interesting. So yeah, the thing is like your whole team can move faster with AI, with the Userbrain MCP, and stay grounded in real user experience and in the evidence. So everyone who's doing UX research and user tests, in my opinion, should encourage also the whole team to use the Userbrain MCP, to connect it, to ask their own questions, to be like closer to the customer, because like in the end, the product you're building is probably for like a human customer, and the researchers know it's important to make it customer focused. And yeah, so I'm super excited about this feature. I think it's so time saving. And yeah, but anyway, what we all showed you now, this is what we can do with it today. And obviously AI is like evolving incredibly fast and kind of faster every day. So in the future, there might be some pretty exciting things on how AI evolves, how we can work in the future with these MCPs. And Andy, maybe you want to tell us something about that?
Yes, I will make it quick because I see that there are already some questions, and maybe we can also try to answer these questions that came up. So basically, the next step in evolving the MCP would be that we go from these read-only tools to tools that also enable you to do more than just analyze your test results. For example, that Paula from marketing can also drop an image in there and say, you know, I would like to have some, I don't know, some feedback about this marketing message or this image or something like that, and then maybe run 1 or 2 or 3 Userbrain tests with this image. Or like our bigger vision is that maybe at some point you can just drop in a URL of your product and say, hey, give me 3 tips how to improve the product so that people can use it easier, or you have some goals, and then an AI agent can do this in the loop and order test videos. So basically doing all these things that are not possible now, that are not about reading, but also about doing real world actions like ordering tests and manage team members and so on. And then, of course, we also want to try to improve what's already working. So to listen to customers, how they use the tool. We get a lot of positive feedback, but we also want to know where the limitations are and what works and what doesn't work that well. And this is also already one question from Tori here, if there are any limitations that you have noticed so far in the MCP's ability. So like out of my mind, I don't have an idea on an answer on this. I mean, I do know a lot of the technical limitations. So maybe there are some things that the AI just can't do, like ordering tests, which has nothing to do with analyzing the test results. But then your AI might have some limitations because it only has like a certain context window. So if you work with an AI that has, I don't know, a context window of X, and you have a lot of tests and want to make an analysis about all the transcripts, that might be a problem. In the beginning, we also had some issues with the AI having too many tool calls and it took long and stuff like this. But recently, I think that we didn't run into the problems we initially had. I also don't know why that was the case, because also Stefan, yesterday, he told me about this example with finding this old man, and it pulled like a lot of data. And previously we thought that this might be a little bit too much maybe, but maybe also in the meantime, because the development's already a few months back when we started developing the MCP server. Like Paula said, AI is evolving quite fast. Context windows are getting bigger. There is a thing called compacting the context. So there are tools that try to take some context and summarize it so that it gets smaller. So all these things getting better. So maybe the question to Paula and Stefan, can you come up with some limitations that you experienced while doing it? Do you have, besides the normal limitations an LLM has?
I mean, so far it was exactly this kind of limitation that you mentioned, where I was trying to pull the transcript, because it was 55 tests, I think, and several hundreds of people. And the AI started doing it, but it just ran into my daily usage limit. So then I just waited, and the next day I said, hey, remember this task? Probably should talk to it like a person, but anyway, that's how I'm talking with. Can we continue from here? And then, yeah, we can continue from here on. And so this kind of limit, that's the only limit I have noticed so far, that I run out of tokens.
If anyone has an idea or tried the MCP and ran into some limitations, you can write it in the chat here, or also communicate it to us, because that's something we really want to learn more about. What is probably possible to improve, and what are maybe limitations that are not in our hand. And yeah, I don't know how we continue now. Do we have more other things, or can we just keep answering the questions?
I would say we can keep answering the question, but like, first of all, I wanted to tell you, if you want to know if there are any limitations and you want to experience these limitations maybe yourself or not, because you don't find any, there's like a super simple way doing that. And this is just like signing up to Userbrain. And if you don't have like an Userbrain account yet, you can start for free. Actually, you get 2 free Userbrain testers from us. You can start your free trial. And yeah, and just try it for yourself. And if you already have a Userbrain account, just connect to MCP, go into ChatGPT or whatsoever, Claude, or wherever you want to connect it, and just ask one question about one user test. Pick one user test, one question that actually matters to your work. Have a look at it, and then, of course, also look at the clips behind the answer and experience it for yourself. And of course, let us know if you experienced any limitations. And also, what I wanted to share with you, like, if you already a customer and you have some questions about it, you can always like reach out to our success team, and they can help you get started with the MCP, setting it up. Yeah, I'm gonna put the link in there as well, so you can reach out to us anytime. And okay, enough links for now. I'm gonna check the questions in here. So the first questions was from Tori. So we already answered this one. It was the one about the limitations. We have another questions from Natalie Lawrence. Do you have tips using the MCP for external client-facing summaries? I'm trying to find the best way to fine-tune and distill insights. So I'm going to put it on the stage so that everyone can read it right here. Andy, Stefan, thoughts on that?
Since I really like Andy to answer the next question that I see here, I'm going to answer this one. No, and it's also because we have worked with external clients for many years, over a decade, and presenting user test findings has always been a bit of a challenge, mostly because you have your presentation tool, and then you have your tool where you have your videos. Then you usually need to get the videos somewhere where you can create your clips, and it has been a nightmare to work with, and really, really difficult to improve on a system once you had it in place, because it just took too long. I think the beauty of the MCP is you can, in a way, start describing to your chat what the project is about, what the client is about, and even ask it, what would be the best way to present these findings? What do you think? Or you can pull, I don't know, a PDF from a website that tells you, where it's like the best way to present findings to a client, pull it into MCP. Because the beauty really is it has access to the data of the clips, so it can already create this for you. I think what I would actually do is I'd ask it to create me an HTML page where it starts with, those were the most important findings. Here are some clips to confirm these findings. And I could just share this link with my client, and they click on a clip and can watch it themselves. Whatever, that's just on top of my mind. But I think the beauty is you are working with the AI. You can give it all sorts of information it needs, and you can use it to find a good way to present these findings. And the real time saver here is it has these findings. So it's not a theoretical information that you can then use to create your presentation in a different tool. You can also do it within the same chat. Depending on the AI you're using, you'll get different results, I suppose, or you can create PDFs or HTML pages, whatever it is. But yeah, that's what I think about it, because when you're presenting these results to your clients, you either already have a system for it, or, this is something that I'm just assuming when I read this question, you're still trying to find the perfect way of presenting these results. And I think the LLM can be really handy here because of the MCP. It gets you all the data and it can just create it for you and you're done. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, Natalie also just wrote in the chat, thank you, Stefan. I'm excited for that. It's going to save us so much time on those reports. Okay, perfect. Let's go to the next question from Alexander. What sort, I will put it on the stage, then everyone can see it.
That was the message from earlier.
Yeah, what sort
I just clicked the debate.
Will I get if I ask about nuances that aren't covered in the test results? What about the kind of fabrications and speculations that are typical of AI?
Yeah, I will go and answer this question. Maybe just one word to the previous question as well. I think this is one field where you can really be creative and experiment a little bit with AI tools, because there are a lot of tools that can make presentations. There is maybe Figma, maybe there's a Figma MCP or something in Claude, so maybe you can have it orchestrate using different tools together to create a presentation. So you don't have to do it all in the same tool. You have to find like a setup, and I think if you play around a little bit with it, there might be like really cool use cases. And if you find like a really cool use case, please let us know, because it's always very helpful if we can help other customers who have similar problems with these things. And to answer the next question, I already read it. What sort of answers will I get if I ask about nuances that aren't covered in the test result? What about the kind of fabrications and speculations that are typical of AI? This one is a very important question, because it's like also about AI in general. So what I want to answer, like the best answer for these questions is it depends, because it depends on a lot of things. It depends on the LLM you're using. It depends on the harness for the LLM you're using. And like a lot of different things, how good the AI is in trying, or how good the harness or the system is in trying to prevent this typical mistakes for AI. But hallucinations are something that come up with most modern LLMs still, and the speculations. This is also why it's very important, if you have something that you also think a little bit yourself, and if it sounds very reasonable, like someone finds that your logo is like upside down, then you can go to the website and see, it's upside down. So even if it's a speculation, it's not like a big problem. But for these other things, these links that Stefan said are so helpful. These real links to the data from Userbrain that is not AI. Because if you have like an insight, and then you can go and watch the clip, and then you see the clip, and this is not data created by the AI. This is something from the real world, from a real user using your product. And this is something you can really rely on in a way. So I think that's like also one strength of using this MCP, because it can draw this line between your insight and the things the AI says and the real data you have. And that was also a very important thing for us, that the AI has the ability to give you a link and to reference and to know how to connect it with the data. It's also about the AI insights. If you open it, every insight has like the sources below in the dashboard, so you can click it and then you see the transcript and you see why this is the case. And it does happen also for the AI insights, that sometimes an AI insight has maybe as a mistake in the transcript as a foundation for the AI insight. So it's not even a hallucination, but maybe a mistake with the transcript provider because it was, I don't know. And like there are many different things that can go wrong. So it's still worth looking at the real data before making an important decision, of course. And that's true for all of the things AI does. It's a very good tool and it often helps, but it's also not perfect. And that's also the reason why most AI tools, somewhere they have a line and it says, do not rely on anything that's in there. So it's not the perfect God that helps you with everything, of course, but we need to remind ourselves, because sometimes it's so good that you fall into the trap of just believing everything, and that might not always be the best solution. Yes,
Yeah.
if there's still someone who has a question, there on the bottom right, there is this question tab. But also after the webinar, I think you can get in touch with us and ask us questions. And I will hand over to Paula now.
Yeah, what I think is super cool about the MCPs, that it's like actually connecting data. So in my personal opinion, I have the impression it's like way less hallucination, because you have like all of the data in there. So it's like way less assumptions, because this is like the database where it gets like the infos from. Of course, like Andy already said, it's like before you make important decision, check it for yourself. This is like always a good thing to do. Yeah, we have another question in here. It's from Alexandra. Can it interpret like nuances and tone in the voice of users? Pretty interesting question.
Well, I try to answer this quickly. Inside Userbrain, we're not analyzing the voice of users. And I'd like to answer it or explain this as the reason is these nuances and these details, they might lead to false positives. It's the same as if you're analyzing how people look into the camera, we're not even recording camera, because we try not to rely on these nuances too much, but on the actual user behavior. So what our AI is really doing is it knows what happens in the video. It has this data and it has the transcript. And based on this, it can provide relatively solid interpretations. As Andy just mentioned, it will make mistakes because transcript tools are not 100% correct. And if there's an error in the transcript, then there will be an error. But we kind of avoid these nuances inside of Userbrain. But correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, but I think it would be easy to just ask Userbrain via the MCP, please give me the video, and then you can analyze it from there and upload it to another AI tool that is doing that, or do it within your LLM chat if it's capable of doing it. But yeah, it's not part of what Userbrain is doing.
Thank you, Stefan.
I think theoretically, and maybe this is also one limitation, theoretically, it cannot easily download the video as far as I understand it. It might be able to do it if the video is public and it can somehow see the public link and then get the video. But even then, most AI tools will have still like limitations that it's not easy to do such sophisticated things on a video. But we did experiment and think of all these tools that are out there with, like Stefan said, analyzing the nuances in the language, trying to get the mood and things like this. But what we found is that it did not make the insights better. It just, like Stefan said, there are false positives, and it was a little bit too much information. Then it was more bad than it was good in the end. But we will still keep monitoring which tools are out there and what we can do with these things. But at the moment, no, we do not analyze the tone of the voice.
Okay.
Yes.
I think, yeah, based on the time, it's a good place to wrap this up now. I already wrote in the chat, you can reach out to us anytime, support@userbrain.com. Yeah, ask us any questions, we will get back to you. So thank you all for joining us today. Thank you, Stefan and Andy, our magician, of course, as well. And yeah, try Userbrain if you didn't do so yet. Try the MCP if you have a Userbrain account. And yeah, we keep you posted about things that we're going to improve. And that's it from our side. And hope to see you all soon.
Yes.
Awesome.
Goodbye.
Thank you all for joining us. Bye-bye.
Nice meeting you.
Bye.